Welcome to the Fall 2023 Area Fellowships. We're so grateful that we can gather together in homes all across the city this afternoon. And let me begin by saying thank you to our Area Fellowship hosts. It is very kind and holy of you to open up your homes to us in this way, and to your neighbors, to our church members. And I just want to say thank you. And in fact, this is exactly what our video is about today, about being hospitable and a church of hospitality. And so I want us to look first to our hosts and say thank you, and let them be our example for hospitality in the life of the church. Now, I often think about my first visit to our church with my wife, Amy. It was the summer of 2017. You didn't know us yet, but we knew you, and we knew the search committee. I'll never forget that day. Amy and I walked in off McCullough and walked into the fellowship hall where we first saw Matthew Benish. And we already knew him because he was on the search committee. And there he was getting ready for choir that morning with the rest of the choir members. They were all gathered together, and we walked in and we saw Matthew. Thankfully, he pointed us in the right direction, showed us where the sanctuary was, and we walked through those doors into our beautiful sanctuary and went to that center back section. And we sat right behind Amy and Emmett Folds. And they were as kind as they could have been to us. You know, as I think about that day, our introduction to worship here, what sticks out the most to me were those people. It wasn't the building, it wasn't the worship, it was the hospitality of the people who welcomed us in. The kindness of those that we encountered along the way, the sweet faces that pointed us in the right direction and helped us along if we needed anything. It wasn't just Matthew or the Folds, it was all of you. And Amy and I were nervous. And I assume it's a different kind of nervous than most visitors. But when you come somewhere new for the first time, it causes this wide range of emotions that can be overwhelming for any of us. And, you know, I suspect this is true for most people, that to be greeted in a warm and inviting way is this great source of comfort. The smiles of people like Matthew or Amy and Emmett, they helped calm our nerves, and they helped us find the right place to be. You know, one of the disconcerting realities of our building is that we no longer use the front door. We've got a beautiful entrance on 4th Street, but it's nowhere near any of our parking lots, and so nobody comes in that way. Most people come through our back door, and that has this romantic, neighborly sound to it. But in reality, it's just confusing, and not to mention the other 14 exterior doors that we have that people can pull on along the way. I mean, Amy and I entered through the side door off McCullough, and we walked right into the choir exiting their robing rooms. And all that seemed unusual, but thankfully there were greeters at the door, and Matthew was at the door to show us the way forward. You know, as a church, it's important for us to recognize all the unique aspects of our building that visitors find challenging. Some of those hurdles are higher than others, but you want to do your very best to help new folks feel as welcome as possible, even with all the unique hurdles that our church has. Now, one of those things for us is all our exterior doors can create a maze that leaves people unsure of where they are or where they're supposed to be or what parking lot they parked in. It's kind of funny, but not funny. I get asked all the time by visitors if I know where they parked, because they have no idea once they come into the building where they're supposed to exit. See, hopefully we can do our best to minimize those sorts of challenges with a warm welcome and a kind smile. You know, once Amy and I found our way into the sanctuary, we were kindly greeted by the Folds, seated right in front of us. And they didn't know who we were, but they were as cordial as a couple could be in welcoming someone new to First Baptist. And, you know, I hear from visitors all the time. And the visitors tell me this is something we are really good at. And it's something that meant the world to them as they tried to process what worship was going to be like in our church. And so I want to encourage you here, and I want to say thank you. Thank you for your effort And I hope you'll keep it up. Keep that energy, that hospitality up. If there's someone new around you, take the time to greet them. Take the time to take an interest in their visit, because this plays about as big a role as anything for most visitors. I mean, the preacher matters, that's certain, but your connection with them matters deeply in how they view our church. So you're fulfilling a great calling here. May the Lord multiply our hospitality. Now, most of the guests say that we do a good job of this. But I hear from church members too, and church members tell me they struggle with this. So I hear things like, there isn't enough time before the service to say hi. There isn't enough time in the greeting time to say hi. I also hear church members say things like, I'm not good at remembering faces, and I got embarrassed one time because I welcomed somebody who is a member. And I hear us saying things like, oh, I don't want to bother people. I don't want to get in their way. And these are all valid excuses, but they're excuses that we should not accept. None of those are good enough reasons to disregard hospitality. We, as the body of Christ, must open our arms wide to those who come in to worship with us. And so I want you to think back with me. Think back to your first visit to our church. And I want you to help us make that better. I mean, everything that we did right when you visited, let's improve it. Let's make it better. And all the things that didn't go well when you visited, help us grow. I mean, we need you to continue to carry hospitality forward so that we are a warm and welcoming church in the days ahead. Now, we've got 3 questions for you. I hope you'll take some time as a group to answer these 3 questions about your visit to the First Baptist Church of San Antonio. What worked, what didn't work, and how we can be better at hospitality together as a church.